And hello, friends. We welcome you to another episode of Chapters here on Armstrong Television. Chapters is the show that profiles authors, editors, and publishers in West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. I'm your host, Eliot Parker, and it's great to have you with us. We are pleased to be joined by CC Mack today. We're talking to her about her debut novel, My Soul's Guardian. To heal her mind, she had to search her soul. A really interesting book that has a lot of different themes and a lot of different ideas that we're going to be talking about here today. And CC joins us as the writer of heart-wrenching and mind-provoking cross-genre romance fiction. Her debut novel, as we mentioned, My Soul's Guardian, is a suspense-filled metaphysical novel born out of love lost. Her other novels in various stages of production include inspirational romance, historical romance, and LGBT novels. She tries to honestly embrace societal issues occurring during the time period of her novels, and she always incorporates elements of her love for animals in her work. She's a lifelong resident of West Virginia. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing from Marshall University. Her postgraduate studies include child development and honing her craft as a novelist. She's a self-proclaimed history and science nerd and loves reading books on those topics, along with other books that take her breath. As a professional author, she finds joy in both of those careers, being a registered nurse, caring for her patients, while also writing novels and poetry that come from inspiration from her heart. She's also a breast cancer survivor, and she tries to live life to the fullest, which includes all outdoor activities such as hiking, water sports, swimming and kayaking, traveling, and hanging out with friends. But she finds most enjoyment when playing with her granddaughter. And we're so glad to have CC Mack with us here today to talk to us about her outstanding book, My Soul's Guardian. So CC, welcome to Chapters. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you, Eliot. It's very nice to be here. Thank you for allowing my story to be told.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. So I wanted to ask you first, when we were talking before on the phone before the interview and everything, and I was doing some research about you, I loved how you categorized this novel, a metaphysical novel.
Yes.
What is that for our audience who may not know that term or be familiar with that
Sure.
subgenre? What is a metaphysical novel?
My Soul's Guardian is a dramedy with a little bit of suspense and has a metaphysical flair with it into that realm. And metaphysical meaning perceptions that are beyond our conscious awareness, our soul's purpose or our soul's reason for being. That is the whole reason that we are here placed on this earth. That's where we're dealing with reincarnation and our whole soul's being and what we are here for.
Very good, and I like that you have that element, but you've also got some suspense at work here.
Yes.
In your book, which we'll talk about in a little bit later on. But your book really, when we get into it, centers on Captain Caroline McKenzie, who is really an interesting character. Tell us a little bit about her and what we learn about her early on as we get into the story.
Captain Caroline McKenzie is a combat nurse that has served in the Iraq War and has just come home and is dealing with PTSD issues, which is so true in many of our veterans these days. And she seeks treatment to help her with her PTSD, the nightmares and the flashbacks that provoke or come upon her all of a sudden. And in that, seeking for treatment, it puts her whole world on a trajectory of pain and disillusionment. She goes through hypnotherapy to take her back to the traumas so that she can reframe them and make them more of a positive outcome the best she can. During hypnosis, she reveals some hidden meanings behind the nightmares and flashbacks, and while she's releasing the traumas that are from her conscious mind. Now, spoiler alert, spoiler alert for the book. War is not the only trauma in her life. And in fact, this life is not the only life that she has had. So that's where we get into the metaphysical realm.
Very good.
So.
And interesting about your book too is that she's not really sure at the beginning if she wants to go through the psychotherapy, but her friends kind of convince her that maybe this would be a good thing. Who are some of the other people she has in her life that you write about in the book? Who are some of those friends?
The lovely aspect that I loved about this character, Caroline's a very strong female character, and she has friends, her closest friends, that are also part of this book. They are, of course, secondary characters. However, they're pretty strong females also, and they together help her, like most friends, like most women with friends and stuff. They help her realize that she does need treatment, that PTSD is affecting her life. The way they go about it is a little bit unconventional sometimes. They do like to have a good time together. And in fact, one of the aspects of not only My Soul's Guardian, but the other books that I have in process, I will always include the state of West Virginia in my books. Somehow, some way, it'll get in there to help our tourist industries. Well, these four women go together at the very beginning of the book to Bridge Day. And they have a good time at Bridge Day. And people will enjoy it because, as I said, it's a dramedy, meaning that comedy aspect of these four women being together and the things that they can get into. It's really fun. But that's one of the aspects that I will always go with writing about West Virginia or preserving the beauty of West Virginia. It's in every single one of my books.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because knowing that now and reading the book about Caroline, and a lot of people don't realize that West Virginia has had more people serve in combat overseas than any state.
Isn't that wonderful?
If you look at per capita and how many people over the years, and this goes back to the Civil War and World War I, World War II, and Korea and Vietnam, and all the way up through, it is, and I think that's interesting. A lot of people don't know that, but it really does kind of make that connection strong between your state and these types of characters.
Well, while we're on the subject of, I guess, statistics there with veterans, I would also like to bring up one of the things. I mean, I appreciate being on the show, but selling books and having people read my heart's soul just poured out into this book, because it is a book about love lost. But one of the things that I do want to make sure that people understand is that there are 20.6 veterans and servicemen that commit suicide a day. A day. They need help dealing with the traumas that this war, or any war, that they are suffering. And I just want it out there. These people are dedicating their lives to the protection of us. We need to help them, and we need to fight to make sure they fought for us. We have to fight for them and get them the help they need when they return home. And that is, out of everything else, the one thing I want people to know. Whether you buy a book or not, let's help the veterans when they return. And
in fact, your dedication in My Soul's Guardian is to the veterans of
all
armed forces,
of all armed forces
that have served.
The book is dedicated to our armed forces, men, women, and animals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And animals.
Very good. When I was reading about your book and looking into this, I noticed that one thing you've talked about is that you kept a journal for a long time, for many years. And that's really where the ideas for this book came from, and your thoughts and feelings that you put into the journaling. But you wrote a lot of painful entries in your journal because you lost someone close to you. Can you talk about that and how the journaling process helped you deal with that grief, but also funneled its way into what we see in My Soul's Guardian?
Well, I did when I lost someone special, and I'm not going to tell you who, because that would be a huge spoiler alert for the book. However, when I did lose someone that was very special to me, to be able to cope and not just sit around and cry constantly, I started putting that pain onto paper, and that helped me release it from in here and get it onto paper, and then I could look at it. It's not like I lost anything, but it's helped me just to pour it out, just like it was therapy. Instead of talking to someone, I poured it onto paper. And then I just felt like I knew this entity, like very soul deep. So I started researching, how do you know someone's soul deep? How do people feel like they have met before? Or have you ever met a friend or someone that you just feel like you just picked up where you left off? You've never met this person at all, and you just picked up where you left off with them. And I started researching that and realized that there are, most of the world believes in reincarnation and that our souls do travel after death. And so when I started researching that, along with the pain of my journal, and I just sort of started combining those two thoughts, and boom, a story's born.
That's great. And Caroline kind of has that same experience, because as she goes through the psychotherapy, going back to her for just a moment, she's kind of really learning who is she as a person,
Yes.
and really what is her soul, what is the core of her soul,
Yes.
as she realizes, not to give too much away, but as she realizes,
Please don't.
that she's lived multiple lives and done different things, that her experience serving as an Army captain was not the end-all, be-all experience. She kind of
She goes
develops what her soul is.
Yes, she goes on the hypnotherapy that she goes through for treatment puts her on a self-discovery voyage of not only her subconscious mind, but also of her soul. Have you ever you wake up from a dream, and where did that come from? How, wouldn't it be fantastic if we understood what our subconscious mind did? It is proven fact, 90% of our thoughts, 90% of our brain, is not used. 10% is our conscious mind, what we make decisions with every single day. 90% is our subconscious mind. I would just love to crack that code.
Yeah.
And that is part of what Caroline's journey is unlocking the trauma that her body has suppressed, repressed into her subconscious mind to protect her. And she releases it.
Yeah. She's a great character to follow. And again, we don't want to give too much away as
Right.
to what that second layer is, what that third layer is as she goes through that process. But it's a fascinating journey, and she's a fascinating character to follow on this journey. I want to ask you about how this book came together. So you mentioned that your journal and the experience of loss kind of folded together in the research that you did on reincarnation. When you sat down to write this, what was your writing process like? And how long did it take you to get a first draft of your book finished?
Okay, the writing process, well, as I said, I just took the journals and things that I've been researching and started just forming a short little small story. Then, because they tell you to write what you know, right? So I've always respected the people in the military. So I knew immediately, if I'm going to have a protagonist, she is going to be in the military. And write what you know, well, she's going to be a nurse, because I'm a registered nurse. So that part was easy, so I guess some people have a hard time figuring out what their character's going to be or who they're going to be. Oh, I knew her, I knew her from somewhere in the past. I don't know why, but I knew that character immediately. And she was going to be a strong female character. And when I started forming her, then everyone else fell in place. And it is wonderful, because when I gave her friends that were going to be so detrimental in her life, each one of them are an amalgam of people I work with, people I hang around with, my friends. So if I needed her girlfriend to be the sweet little nice one, then I would sort of channel, okay, what would this person say at this time? If I need him to be sassy, I would channel someone else and say, what would they say in this situation? So and I had fun with it. It was fun because I got to put words in their mouth, and and I got to say, okay, if this is what they would say. And sometimes the things that they would say are exactly what girlfriends say to one another. Sometimes it's sweet. Sometimes it's just slap in your face truth. Sometimes it's raunchy. But it's what your girlfriends would say to you. And I enjoyed so much putting those characters together and making them come to life. Of course, so the writing process through that, and I started building these characters, and then I could branch off to this, and I started saying, what if? What if this happened? What is the worst thing that could have happened to her? What is the worst thing that could happen here? And that leads you down these roads, and if you just keep asking yourself, what if? Or what's the worst thing possible, and you build that story, then you turn around and you have 125,000 words in a in a computer and a whole story that you just birthed.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful.
Absolutely. It's a great feeling. To have that first draft done is always the best feeling ever as a writer.
You ask how long?
Yeah.
Approximately 3 years of research, and because there's not only the research that goes into the metaphysical aspect, and that included reading many authors on that realm, the research into the war, and the research, just knowing the lingo. When you're writing about an Army captain and you need to know the lingo, I've never heard of a Maldeus before, but that's a really big gun, by the way.
Yeah.
So I had to learn those words, and it was like learning a foreign language. So yes, it took me quite a while because I wanted the book to be very authentic. I did not want someone from the military buying my book and saying, that would never happen. That's not even the right word for that. Or I didn't want someone even from the realm of people who help with hypnotherapy and helping with PTSD. I never wanted them to read the book and say, that is not how we would do it. In fact, the foreword is written by Dr. Joseph Mancini. He is a Harvard graduate who does past life regressions. I didn't know him before. I wanted to find somebody who could authenticate the whole process that this psychologist is taking her through. And so I called or emailed him and asked if he would read my book. Of course, at first he said, no, I don't read other people's books. Would he write the foreword? No, he doesn't do that either. But after he read the book, he said, that is spot on. And a few changes here or there, he said, but that is spot on. And that could literally help so many veterans if they knew that this was an option. And then that became my mission. My mission changed from pouring my soul out into a story to now I need this published, to now I want to help as many people that can help through this story.
Excellent. So that leads to my next question. How did you get connected with Rebel Press? How did you find them? Were they a publisher that you had in mind for this book, or did you come across them some other way? How did you get connected with Rebel Press?
Okay, well, I go to a lot of conferences. I am honing the craft of writing, so I do go to a lot of conferences. There are many publishers that show up at these conferences, including agents that want to read manuscripts, that want to help young writers or novice writers. And there was someone from Rebel Press there, and I got their card along with many others. And when I spoke with each individual, and it's really in here, you will know. You will know when you meet that agent or when you meet that person who's going to launch your book, you will feel it, that this is the person that I want to work with. This is the person I can trust with my soul. And I spoke with many, and everybody's very helpful, don't get me wrong. There was a lot of people. In fact, one of the best things about writing this book are all the people that I've met and become very close friends with while I was writing it. And one of them is just the person who brought me into Rebel Press and said, let us show you how we're going to, this process for us. And they were just so sweet, and I just felt it. I felt these are the people I want to go with.
Yeah, great, excellent. And I know that you have gone to a lot of writing conferences, and I wanted to ask you, generally speaking, the value in that, and if there is someone who's writing or at any level of writing and is thinking about going to these conferences and wonders if it's worth the money and the time off and all that has to be done, and how your life has to sometimes be rearranged so that you can go to Oregon or Texas
Yes.
for a week. Can you talk about the value in that and what you would say to a writer who's maybe on the fence about going to one of these conferences?
Selling or writing a book or selling a book or developing a book, it takes networking. It takes a lot of networking. And that is probably one of the biggest benefits that I have found during conferences, is the people that I meet. I've met some amazing people, some amazing writers. The person who did the trailer for my book, I came through that company through a writer that I met in Nashville at a conference. So now that person is talking about wanting to write the screenplay for that book. So you never know that one person that you're going to meet that's going to know this one person that's going to totally flip your life around. Now, that's my number one reason that people should go to the conferences. I have yet to go to any conference that I didn't learn something.
Right.
And isn't that what life's about? Learning your craft, honing in your trade, being the best that you can be. I will continue to go to these conferences. Maybe I've heard 75% of it already, but maybe I haven't heard that 25. And that is important, and you never know who you're going to meet.
Absolutely. That's great advice, and I found all those things to be true, too, when I go to conferences. And there's always something you can learn, because technology's changing, and the way books are being produced and distributed is always changing. You're right. You can always learn something new, so I'm glad you mentioned that. So what are you working on next? What is CC Mack working on next?
Well, I have a first draft already of my next book. And it is, as you mentioned at the beginning, I do write cross-genre, meaning it is romantic fiction. But this next one is Christian inspirational, mixed with 50 Shades. It's a little bit different from this one. In fact, none of my books will be the same. If My Soul's Guardian does well and people love these characters, then that book is set up to be a trilogy. And so you will be able to follow her girlfriends into their own metaphysical realms. But I do have this first draft, as I said. It's called The Manual. Then I have a book started that's outlined already, and it deals with LGBT issues. I have a historical romance that I'm in the middle of research. They're all in different progressions here. Historical romance that is from the Civil War, and all my books are about a strong female character. There will be animals in it. In fact, the animals aren't just pets of other people. They will be characters in some way in their own right. So yes, I have my hands in many different books right now. And as far as the writing process, sometimes I'll wake up and I know exactly what that character's waking me up saying, hey, I want to say this. I want to say this in this next chapter. And I go to that book. And then sometimes I only want to write or research on the historical. And so that whole writing process, I like keeping all those different characters open and allow them free range to say what they want in here, and so that I can get it on paper. And there's many books to come.
Great. Sounds like a great repertoire that you're working on there, so that's fantastic. So, CC, in our final moments with you today, if someone wants to get in contact with you to talk to you about your book, to talk with you about the work that you do with veterans, to find out more about other projects that you're working on, or if they want to get a copy of My Soul's Guardian, how can they get in contact with you, first of all, and where can they get copies of your book?
Perfect. Best way to get in contact with me personally is www.ccmack.com. On that website, you can see all about me. And if you want to learn more about me, you can also get my Facebook, Twitter, email, all that on there. There will be links as soon as the book goes on Amazon sales, which is going to be this month. The link will be there that you can go straight off my webpage to buy the book. So yeah, ccmack.com is the best way to get a hold of me. Of course, as you know, also Inner Geek will have the book also available if you're in Huntington or down by Pullman.
Very fantastic. CC Mack has been our guest today. We've been talking to her about her outstanding debut novel, My Soul's Guardian. To heal her mind, she had to search her soul. A great story about Army Captain Caroline McKenzie, who is living a current life, recovering from post-traumatic stress disorder and nightmares from being a combat nurse during the war in Iraq. But as we find out, that's not the only life that she has lived and the only experience that she's had. It's a fantastic book, crosses different genres, as we mentioned, a metaphysical book that is really well written and really outstanding. So congratulations
Just for
to
another
you.
spoiler alert,
Yes.
there's a soul that's following her
Yes.
from life to life, and that's the suspense part of it. You got to figure out why.
Yes. Yes, and we don't want to say too much more. We want people to read that. So congratulations, Cece, on
Thank
your
you.
book. And as you keep working on those other projects, we'd love to have you come back on and talk about it. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Eliot.
We also want to take a moment to say thanks to the staff and management of the Inner Geek here at Pullman Square for providing our on-site support and assistance today. We encourage you to come down to the Inner Geek and pick up a copy of CC Mack's book. You'll really enjoy it. It'll be a real treat for you. And we also want to remind you that many of the other author, editor, and publishers featured on our program have their works for sale right here at the Inner Geek. So come on down to Pullman Square and look for those books and get any reading taste that you have satisfied. And we appreciate their sponsorship and support of every episode here on Chapters. And if you want to stay in contact with the program, we've got a variety of ways that you can do that via the internet and social media. The first way that we have made available for you to reach out and connect with the program is through email. Our email address is right here at the bottom of the screen, lp4@zoominternet.net. We also have a Chapters tab and a Chapters page on YouTube through the Armstrong One Wire page on YouTube, and that address is also here at the bottom of the screen. Once you type that into your search browser, your internet browser, just look for the Chapters tab, and all of our author, editor, and publisher interviews are archived for you there as well. And we also have a presence on Facebook. All you need to do is log into Facebook and plug in the information here at the bottom of the screen for that address, and you can find our more recent author, editor, and publisher interviews archived there as well. You can like those interviews, you can share them to your Facebook page or other social media pages, and interact with viewers of the program right there through Facebook. So Facebook, YouTube, and email are all ways you can stay in contact and connected with us right here on Chapters, and we do appreciate all of the support that you provide us on our episodes and on our tapings through those social media platforms. We appreciate it so very much. So please keep those shares, likes, tweets, comments, and everything coming back to us through those social media platforms. We really do appreciate it. And that's going to do it for us this time on Chapters, but please come again next time. And in the meantime, stay tuned to this station for news and views that impact you and your community.